Hello, this is Dami, and this is Ask Dami. This is the place where you receive practical answers to life's complex questions, and it's episode 2. Very exciting. Last week, in the first episode, we began to talk about a very important issue, the issue of sexual addictions. And the feedback have been very encouraging, people opening up and talking about the issues they're having in their own lives and how they've tried their best to come out of that cycle. I believe that in this episode, you will find a few tools, tips, and techniques that you can use to extricate yourself in cooperation with the power of God from this very destructive cycle. So we're still dealing with the issue of sexual addiction this week, and I know that there are people in their multiplied millions in different sectors of the economy, different churches, different age groups that are struggling with this issue. Unfortunately, very few people ever talk about it or acknowledge it or deal with it or confront it. But I believe that you will find a few things as I share that will help you. The cardinal thought I'd like to leave with you today is the fact that your beliefs determine your behavior. Many times we embark on a behavior transformation project, BTP, if you will, and we just talk about actions and talk about behavior and talk about change. But the fundamental thing we really need to address is our beliefs. Our belief systems govern our behavioral patterns. And it's absolutely impossible for you to see true transformation in your behavior without first of all seeing a transformation in your beliefs. This is how I like to explain it, that your behavior is the fruit, but your beliefs are the roots. In other words, your behavior is like a tabletop, but your beliefs are the legs upon which the tabletop rests. So for you to deal with your behavior, you need to shift your beliefs. Your sexual behavior is a function of your beliefs about sex. So if you see sex as a sport, you behave in bed like you're playing a game or something like that. If you see it as a way of escape or a way to show your personal power, your conquest, then that also drives you. It deals or affects the way you operate or you work along those lines. So understand that. And the cardinal thing is realizing that your thoughts create your feelings. So those beliefs that you have ever so often trigger feelings or emotions, and emotions are drivers. That's why when you feel good, many times you do things that you will not do when you feel bad, and vice versa. The wise words of King Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived, he said, well, in the Old Testament, he said that as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. One Greek philosopher rephrased it along those lines when he said, I think, therefore I am. So our thoughts are very crucial in influencing the things that we do. And there are two things when it comes to thoughts. First of all, what we think about, and next, how we think about what we think about. And what we think about, we tend to bring about. So if you don't want to bring about something, then think about it. The more you think about it, the stronger a grip it has on your mind, on your subconscious, and the greater its impact in your actions, your behavior, your behavioral patterns, and your lifestyle. So your thoughts create feelings, feelings create behavior, behavior reinforces thoughts, and then your thoughts create feelings all over again. So it becomes a vicious cycle that affects your life. Now, even though this is being used in the context of sexual addictions, it is also applicable in other areas of life. That the way you build a habit or you develop a lifestyle or cultivate a behavioral pattern is by harnessing the power of thoughts to generate feelings and allowing those feelings to drive your behavior, and then the behavior reinforcing your thoughts. And so the cycle continues. That's why it's very important that you think the right way. For a guideline on what you ought to think, you can check out Philippians chapter 4 verse 8, where he tells us what we should focus on. Now, what is clear about a cycle is that a cycle sustains itself. That's why it's a cycle. It's like a ring or a wheel within a wheel within a wheel. It sustains itself. So for you to break the cycle, there has to be the introduction of an external force. If you remember the words of Isaac Newton when he said that a body will remain in a state of rest or uniform motion except it's acted upon by an equal or greater force. So for you to break a cycle, you need a force, you need a factor that is external, and impinges upon that cycle itself. There has to be the reintroduction of something bigger, something stronger to destroy that cycle. So I want to leave you very quickly with 5 things that you can do, 5 steps that you should take to break sexual addictions. First of all, you have to make a decision. I believe that one of the greatest gifts that God has given us as humans is the power to make decision. To make decisions. You can decide. You can make a decision. I remember at this time the story of one man who was obviously blind, and when he comes to Jesus asks him a question which many of us will consider startling, puzzling, or maybe even dumb. Jesus says to the blind man, "What would you want me to do for you?" In other words, I need you to make a decision. Do you want me to give you money? Do you want me to give you your sight back? Do you want me to endorse you publicly? What do you want me to do for you? You need to make a decision. A decision that says, you know what, I can continue to be in the cycle that is destructive, that is dehumanizing, that is robbing me of my ability to think straight, to produce consistently, or to engage fully and entirely with the plans and the purpose of God for my life. You need to make a decision, not just check out the options, the alternatives, the consequences, but to make a decision that is conclusive. Now, when you've made that decision, the next step is that you must let that decision lead you to a place of separation. The power of a decision is only revealed and reflected in what you do after you claim to have made that decision. So if you decide to lose weight and you keep eating all the cake in the wall, and you keep drinking everything that you shouldn't be drinking or eating, then you really haven't made a decision. Maybe you've made a mental decision, but you haven't made a concrete decision. Right? Now, the second thing is separation. Separation is key, and there are 2 dimensions to it. The first dimension is external separation. The second dimension is internal separation. External separation talks about you cutting off the supply of fuel that triggers the destructive habit, the sexual addiction. It is not possible for you to have sex all by yourself. Well, I know that you have all those sex toys, and you possibly have access to pornography and to a partner that feels or triggers your desire for sex. So external separation means being honest with yourself and cutting off everything and anything that has the potential to keep you in that destructive cycle. So if you have your sex toys, this is the time to send them away. This is the time to burn them up, throw them in the trash can, dispose of them, separate yourself. If you have a relationship that thrives in sex, that is so steeped in sexual engagement and all of that, it's not a marital relationship, this is the time to separate. A lot of people enter into a state of illusion and delusion when they claim that, yeah, I've been sleeping with my boyfriend, or I've been living with my girlfriend, we have sex all the time, but we're able to work things out. That is destructive. That is destructive. And you cannot help yourself when you're still very fully and consciously engaged with somebody who drives your addiction, who feeds your addiction, who reinforces the negative patterns. So separate yourself externally. Watch what you watch. Watch what you watch. Be careful what you watch. If you're into pornography, you will never be able to break a sexual addiction without, first of all, cutting away all of those pornographic images, visuals, messages, and raunchy lyrics and things you pay attention to. Remember that what you think about, you bring about. Internal separation talks about the cleansing of your mind, because it's possible for you to have no toys around you, for you to have no man or woman to be sexually engaged with on the outside of you, but in your mind you're having all kinds of lustful thoughts and raunchy pictures and sensual desires. And this is the time where the word of God begins to purge you, cleanse you, and purifies you. It says that the word of God is a double-edged sword that searches the hearts. It creates a distinction between soul and spirit, that which is spiritual and that which is sensual. So you bathe your mind with the word of God and you separate yourself internally. The third thing is you need to get into a level of investigation. What does investigation mean? Investigation means you're going to ask yourself some honest questions like, how did this start? How did I get into this destructive behavior? How did I find myself in this vicious cycle that has kept me crippled, hampered, hindered, harried, held back? How? Where did it start? Because every addiction is traceable to a point in time. It could be traceable to some kind of sexual molestation, harassment, a feeling of inadequacy. It could be a sense of abandonment. Maybe you are not close to your father, so you're looking for fatherly love in every man you come across. Or maybe you are not particularly endeared to your mother, and you're looking for that motherly affection in every woman you see. Maybe you were touched the wrong way in primary school or secondary school, or domestic staff did something to you that you're yet to acknowledge or appropriately process. Investigate. You need to be able to cut it off from the source. It's like you walk into your house and you find your room flooded with water. Your house, your living room flooded with water. It's going to be futile if you get a mop and you try to get the water out of your living room. What you need to do is to locate the tap. Locate the tap, turn it off before you clean up. So investigation allows you to identify the roots. It is some kind of diagnosis where you know what exactly you're up against. When you do that, you move to step 4, which is reorientation. The transformation that you seek is traceable to a change of mind. Paul was writing to the church in Rome, and he says that your mind will be made over, your life will be changed when your mind is made over. It says, be not conformed to the standards of this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. So the renewing of your mind brings about the transformation of your life, a reorientation to change the way you think about sex. So you don't think about it as an escape route. You don't think about it as a way to impose your superiority or establish your conquest over a weak person or even a strong person. You don't see it as exploration or adventure outside of the noble bounds and boundaries of marriage, but you see it as a gift that ought to be shared with one person, that ought to be cherished, that ought to be nurtured. You see it as a gift, a reorientation, where you don't see it as a plaything, but you see it as something sacred, something sweet, something special that ought to be given to and shared with one person. Number 5 is saturation. I'm a firm believer that you don't have change overnight. Any change that is going to last for a long time and remain profitable will take some time. And saturation is immersion. Whatever it takes for you to attain your deliverance will be required to maintain your deliverance. Whatever it takes for you to obtain your deliverance will be required to retain your deliverance. So saturation talks about you bathing yourself with the right atmosphere, infusing yourself with the word of God, with the right conversations, with the right relationships, with the right environment, allowing everything around you to conform with your desired experience. These are 5 keys that I believe will go a long way in helping you. I hope that you find them very useful, and let's get the conversation going. I'm still looking forward to more of your questions along those lines. If you have an experience about sexual addiction and how God has helped you, how you've been able to come over it, please leave your comments in the comment box below. Encourage somebody, strengthen somebody. It's going to be a great time. Meanwhile, follow me on Twitter or like my page on Facebook, and you can also meet up on my website. It's been a pleasure sharing this few thoughts with you. I hope you'll share the link, spread the word, send the video to a friend who you might not even know is struggling with this issue. But whatever you do, remain a blessing. Keep your head high. God is with you. God bless you. I'll talk to you sometime soon. Till then, stay on top.